It really is not possible to experience physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual health without a direct connection to nature. It's something that's forgotten, or people think it doesn't really matter, or it's not effective. But the medicines in nature they're essential for us, because we're spiritual beings, but we're in an animal body, and that needs to be nourished and energized and balanced, like you say. So putting on the armor of God introduces the body technologies, natural medicines, and spiritual technologies that are available to us, that are free, that are safe, effective, and that are really essential. They're not really an option. The other book that I'm writing, New Human of New Earth, is really a reminder of how to be a human being, how to be a divine human being, because we have so many technologies within us that most people don't even know about.
Nothing changes without us connecting to love. We cannot change from a place of fear or by force. It's got to be gentle. That's self-care. Nature itself is a modality, is a healing modality. Mm-hmm. And, for those who cannot always get out in nature, they can always get grounded sheets or grounded mats, because this is really about getting a different set of electromagnetic frequency within us. Because a lot of the times we think we've been ill because something's happened. Whatever we're experiencing affects our energy levels, affects our electromagnetic field. So we become disordered. Our field becomes misaligned. And nature and the solar energy actually connects us much more to that balanced, divine, infinite source of energy. Welcome to the Daily Soul Bytes Show. I am your host, Bola Abimbola, frequency alchemist and spiritual teacher. And Daily Soul Bytes Show is where we interview guests all the fields of spirituality, psychology, and leadership to share their insights for the expansion of collective consciousness. And today I have a very special guest all the way from Hawaii, Isabella Young. Welcome to the show, Isabella.
Thank you, Bola. I'm so grateful to connect with you, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share with you and your audience what I've learned from my experiences.
Well, thank you, Isabella. I'll read a bit about your bio before we start. Isabella Young is a pioneer in developing the therapeutic or outdoor adventure programs in Australia until personal tragedy struck. Widowed and pregnant, and with her young son, Isabella began a healing journey that spans 3 decades, and she has crisscrossed 3 continents under 3 different names, undertaking pilgrimages, retreats, shamanic journeys, and vision quest. And through her relentless devotion to healing and seeking truth and freedom, Isabella is now thriving on writing books to share wisdom from her experiences, the hyena, and the other teachers that support optimal health, sovereignty, and the freedom and future of humanity. Powerful, powerful. Thank you for being here, Isabella. I would love to know how you came to this place where you're now an expert in really the different aspects of self. We've got the physical self and the ego self and the spirit self, which is really the pure awareness. And our spiritual awakening journey is really when we're integrating that physical ego self, understanding it, healing is a journey, and understanding how that physical ego self can integrate and surrender more to that really powerful, spirit being. So I would love to hear a bit more about how you went through some of the difficulties, because there's always a limitation that gets our attention in life. And I would love to hear, what was it that you went through that got you really deep into the spiritual journey?
Well, the simple answer is I went through a lot of suffering, and through wanting to end suffering, I came to understand more about myself, my relationship to God, I'm going to use that word, and then how to optimize my being, my mental, physical, and emotional health. I started out life, I was raised by a devout atheist, so I grew up with this superior attitude that I knew better than everybody else, that God was just like a fictitious character, and religion was a crutch for humanity. And it wasn't until I met he became my first husband. He was a very wise man. He was a physical warrior who was in the SAS and very much in the world in that way, but also a spiritual warrior. And we read books together and did meditation, and we did tantra together. And that's when my spiritual path began, when when I saw that understood that there was more to life than what can be perceived through the five senses. And we began a really beautiful life together. We were living my dream on land where I was growing food, and we had fruit trees and chickens, and we had our first son. And I was 3 months pregnant with our second child, and he went to work. He was working he was on riding the wave of bringing in outdoor adventure activities into the corporate world for personal development and spiritual development too. And he went to work one day, the first day on his job, and I got a knock on the door from the local policeman and the neighbor, and they told me he died. And that was the end of my dream of a family and farm and all that. I couldn't keep that lifestyle up. It was just, then that sent me on a course. Well, I really wanted to die at that point. I was in so much pain. I didn't really want to live. And in fact, if I hadn't been a mother and pregnant, I would have ended my life at that point. So I went on a long journey where I nowhere felt like home. And I was really searching for a way out of that pain. And I did a shamanic course called Dying to Live, which was perfect because that's really how where I was at, which was a sensory deprivation course. There was no talking when we were blindfolded for this week. The only time we spoke was when we came together in the temple space and talked about, we wrote a eulogy, we wrote our will, we wrote letters of reconciliation and forgiveness, just, as if we were, as if you're preparing for death. And then on Friday morning, we did a meditation, and I had a huge out-of-body experience because I really put my heart and soul into this course because it felt like it was a turning point. And I was guided to start training with this individual who I had never met. I'd heard about him. And when I got back from the course and came back into my body again, I contacted him, and he said, come and meet me in New Zealand, where I spent more time with him. And then he said, come and train with him in his ashram in Laguna Hills in California. So I believed that I had met my guru, because I had also spent time in India during those 4 years. And I wanted a guru. I wanted guidance. I really wanted to be free from suffering, and I wanted enlightenment at that point from my limited understanding of what enlightenment was. So I went over to be part of his ashram, and we ended up very quickly, brought my kids over, and we got married, and we had a child together, and began living as husband and wife, but also guru disciple in this ashram. And he believes he's the second coming, the Kalki avatar. This is going to sound super, really crazy, but this is the journey that I went on. So I was part of his disciples. We were there to serve his ministry. And I did want to serve too. I really wanted to serve God, to serve good, serve humanity. So we all believed we were there to help his mission. But it wasn't an ashram, and he wasn't a guru. And it was years later I found out that it was a cult, and he was a cult leader, and I had been brainwashed along with everybody else in the cult, and we were verbally abused, physically abused, sexually abused, spiritually abused, and it was living hell. And after 7 years of also wishing that I was not alive, my son came home from school one day, and he was quite upset, and I suggested that he go to bed and we'll talk about it in the morning. But in the morning he wasn't home, and I knew something was up because he was supposed to be going on a trip and that he was looking forward to, but he was missing. And we reported him missing to the police. And the next day, the cult leader sent his assistant to look for my son in the area behind the house, and he found him with a knife wound to the neck and the kitchen knife next to his body. And then the cult leader told everybody, including the police, that my son had taken his life because he found out he was gay, and that was unacceptable to him. But more than that, it was going to be unacceptable to me. And I hadn't given him the life that he wanted because I was a very disobedient disciple. I didn't follow. I didn't do what I was told to do. And then that was just. Then I didn't even want to breathe anymore, and I spent months and months just going from breath to breath, because once again I couldn't exit because I had children who'd already suffered enough. So I had to stay around and find a way back to life again. And about 7 months after, I still didn't leave. I still didn't leave because he'd used a lot of like bribery. He said if I left, I couldn't take my child, and he wouldn't pay me, and I couldn't leave any more than 2 hours out of the state. And I really didn't even want to be in California. I didn't even want to be in the States anymore. So I felt trapped by that. But also spiritually, he blackmailed me because he said it'd been thousands of lifetimes for me to get to this point, and this was the culmination of my embodiment, and I was finally going to be living my Dharma. And if I left, I would regret it, and my soul would scream throughout eternity when I realized the mistake that I'd made in leaving him, because he was the only one who had the key to my freedom. That left me really a mess. So I went to see this psychologist, and he said, as I walked in the door, he said, "I knew you'd come to see me. You know you're in a cult, don't you?" And I said, "No, I didn't know I was in a cult. I thought I was in an ashram with my guru." And he said, "Go home and guru cult characteristics." So I Googled cult characteristics, and there it was, the list of a charismatic leader who's the arbitrator of truth. It is the love bombing, the hate bombing, the brainwashing, mind control, psychological operations, gaslighting, he was a master of gaslighting. And I realized I was in a cult. And so that's when I made arrangements to get out and leave. And I got away to Hawaii, and that's when my healing journey started, when I had to really look at, well, what was it in me that got me into this situation? How did I end up in a cult? That's 16 years ago now, and it's only now that I'm ready to talk about what happened and why it happened, and yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Isabella. It is one thing for us to go through these experiences. It's another thing for us to feel able to talk about it. And so
Yes.
I do appreciate you sharing that. And it's always interesting when we are in relationships, that because that cult environment is the extreme, but even in the day to day, that kind of controlling narcissistic relationships. And it could be little things. It could be you can't wear makeup, you can't wear high heels, the smallest thing, but it's about control. And I really commend you for persisting in getting to understand how you can have more freedom. Because at the end of the day, the universe that we live in is a life of choice and alignment. And you choosing to align to more freedom. It's got to be better than this. That is such a wonderful thing that's within us, because that voice is silent a lot of the times. It's really repressed by the very, fear-based narratives, that we need intermediaries. We need somebody to guide us. We need somebody to show us the way. And it takes a lot of determination to stay on that journey. And I would love to hear a bit more about how, when you got to Hawaii, you were aware that you were spirit because you had an out-of-body experience. Because I've also had an out-of-body experience. So I know that when you have that experience where your spirit leaves the body, you definitely can no longer deny the existence of spirit. And you can no longer deny the existence of that astral realm where you go to as a spirit being. So I would love to hear how you continued that journey once you got to Hawaii, and how you are now serving others.
Like I learned about narcissistic personality disorder, and then but the key about that was it was all well and good for me to say, oh, well, he's got a narcissistic personality disorder, which he does. But what did that mean? What did I have that I got into relationship with him? So I realized that I had codependent tendencies. So both of those conditions are self-love deficit disorders. They just manifest differently. And for me, I'm looking for love outside myself, looking for approval, looking for reassurance. And so I had to heal that. I knew that I had to heal my self-love deficit disorder. I had to learn to love myself. And that took such a long time I repeated the mantra, I love myself, over and over again. Whenever there was any like lull in my day-to-day life, I'd repeat that mantra. I did a lot of practices of self-care, spent a lot of time in nature. Nature has been the balm for my soul, healed my heart, and that's been the key to me getting to where I am now, is spending a lot of time in nature, coming to understand myself and what made me vulnerable to cult programming. Then I also understand cult programming. So I understand it in relation to cults, religious cults, spiritual cults, and also, like you were saying, in relationships. You can be in a cult of one, like high control relationships, right? And then there's those other organizations, MLMs and sports teams and political parties, and then go into, the bigger and bigger picture that humanity's enslaved in a satanic cult. So I could continue to see how cult programming we're all affected by cult programming on a whole lot of different levels. And it does, like you say, it does take a lot of work to break free from the cult programming, because it starts from the get-go. And then it's reinforced by public school education. That's just indoctrination, into the slave system. So that's years and years and years when we're young, getting all these false beliefs and ideas about how we should live our lives and be in society. That's just, drilled into us day after day after day. And then if we go on further into academia, the same thing, just regurgitation of usually lies or half-truths or useless information that really doesn't support us here as spiritual beings on our evolutionary journey. So it does take a lot of work to undo that programming. But what I found was the most effective way, and I wish I'd known this earlier, the most effective way to undo and get rid of all the garbage and the false beliefs and all that was through connecting with nature, like directly connecting with nature. Some people call it earthing or grounding or whatever. So I'm in direct receipt of the energy from the earth, which is a battery that helps to rebalance me physiologically and electromagnetically, helps to recharge, revitalize me. So I had that more strength and resilience from the earth, and then also from the plants and the ocean and the wind and the clouds. So I've had all that open to receive that energy. And then what really expanded my consciousness more than anything was the practice of sun gazing. So I do that several times a day now, but started off just at dawn, looking at the sun through gently closed eyes as it raises above the horizon, because by that practice, I'm receiving source light, divine light, the highest light codes directly into my brain. And that really changes everything. I can feel how it's really optimized my mental health, physical health, and deepened my connection to God. So that's the main. You're asking about serving. I think the main ways that I serve are, in addition to writing the books, sharing that information through the books, and doing podcasts and sharing it that way, is by maintaining or increasing my own personal vibration and adding that to the collective, because that changes everything, right? We are receiving more light from the great central sun, from the galactic center, the great central sun, our sun. That's the frequencies of light that are bombarding Earth now. We're at the highest frequencies for I don't know how long, but possibly for eons, and that's changing everything from the cellular level, DNA, all the way through our bodies and then the environment around us. And by being connected to nature, directly connected to nature, then any changes that are going on, any upgrades or the high frequencies of energies, we're aligned with that. So that's not so much to journey through. You know, we're aligned with I'm aligned with the earth changes now. So whatever's going on now, it still affects me, but I'm not so affected as I know some people are, because the light that we're receiving is absolutely phenomenal. And that's one of the reasons why there's all this going on on the world stage, is to distract us from the fact that we really have these evolutionary forces of light available to us now that we can align with, receive. And by doing that, then I feel like I'm being of service to the whole, even though it's just me here sun gazing on the beach.
I love that. Yeah. So powerful. I love the way you took time to really get to understand yourself, that self-love, because nothing changes without us connecting to love. We cannot change from a place of fear or by force. It's got to be gentle. That's self-care. Nature itself is a modality, is a healing modality. Mm-hmm. And, you know, for those who cannot always get out in nature, they can always get grounded sheets or grounded mats, because this is really about getting a different set of electromagnetic frequency within us. Because a lot of the times we think we've been ill because something's happened. Whatever we're experiencing affects our energy levels, affects our electromagnetic field. So we become disordered. Our field becomes misaligned. And nature and the solar energy actually connects us much more to that balanced, divine, infinite source of energy. And I love that those are your modalities. And I'd love to know more about your books, Isabella. Which of your books would you like to talk about, or maybe all three?
Well, this one is Putting on the Armor of God, and that was written in December 2020 when all the big psyop came out, really talking about all the medicines in nature that we have available to us, because it really is not possible to experience physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual health without a direct connection to nature. It's something that's forgotten, or people think it doesn't really matter, or, you know, or it's not effective. But the medicines in nature they're essential for us, because we're spiritual beings, but we're in an animal body, and that needs to be nourished and energized and balanced, like you say. So Putting on the Armor of God introduces the body technologies, natural medicines, and spiritual technologies that are available to us, that are free, that are safe, effective, and that are really essential. They're not really an option. The other book that I'm writing, New Human of New Earth, is really a reminder of how to be a human being, how to be a divine human being, because we have so many technologies within us that most people don't even know about. Every month when the moon is in the same sign as our sun sign that we were born under, our bodies goes through it's like a biochemical, alchemical, astro process. I won't explain it too much now, but it's a complete renewal of blood, renewal of like potentials. And we every one of us has that available to us every month. But that process is very it's ethereal, and it's just on the verge of ethereal and physical there. So it can be easily disrupted by everything that most people do, you know, eating junk food, drinking alcohol, being angry, you know, being busy. So there are what I've written about are a lot of the technologies that we have within our body that we can access if we're aware of them, and then, you know, be prepared to go through these processes. The way we can use our voice, the way we can use our breath, the way we can just move, or there are so many, and I'm calling them medicines. That's probably going to get me into some trouble with powers that be, but that's the reason why our idea of medicine has been like twisted to believe that it's got to be chemical or you know, surgical or radiation, or whereas the truth of it, the medicines that we really need are natural. In fact, our body responds to unnatural medicines with inflammation and rejection because it's, sets up a defense, doesn't know this chemical or what I'm writing about are the natural medicines that are available to us. And it's not to say that Western medicine's all bad. I mean, if my arm gets severed, I'm going to be going to, Western medicine has its place to deal with emergency surgeries, reconstructive surgeries and all that, but its place is not in maintaining optimal health on a day-to-day basis.
I do love that you have this really powerful understanding of nature, because you're right. We have, especially after what happened in 2020. 2020 was a game changer. And, we were all forced to, even those who loved being in nature, were forced to disrupt that particular relationship. And for some, it's really not been the same since then. So I really appreciate your emphasis on that natural source, which is a part of us. Nature is a part of us. And it's about reconnecting to that part of us that has a direct connection to infinite source. I am curious, Isabella, about your out-of-body experience. Could you tell us a bit about what happened? I know you said you had been on a course with a shamanic course, and you, at the very end, on the last day, you had the OBE. Do you mind talking a bit about that? What happened and the experience of it?
So we were lying down, blindfolded in a temple space. It was a mud brick temple, and we were guided through a meditation. And the only words that I remember are Merkaba and Antakarana. And then I just surrendered, let go, and I felt like I went way, 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 way out. I don't know, that was my best description of it, where I met some beings, one of whom was my husband who passed away, and another Indian guru, Sai Baba, and another being who I don't know. And I was told some things that I can't repeat, but one of the things that I was told was it was time to start training with this particular, I'm using air quotes, teacher. So it's ironic that that's what led me into the cult, but I trust that that's my journey. I'm not a victim. I know it ended, my son lost his life because of my choices. However, I trust that our souls, were doing what was really what we were intended to do. That's the one thing I've done my best to do, is when I do get guidance, feel guidance, it's intuition or signs or synchronicities, then I trust and follow that guidance. And that's helped strengthen my intuition, because like a muscle, if I get an inkling or a feeling, I'll trust that and go along with that. It's been my intuition's been my guide since that time. So yeah, that was my out of body experience. I did want to say something. Yeah. I just wanted to say something about our connection to nature, that humans have been intentionally disconnected from nature, from the idea of wearing rubber-soled shoes that's disconnected us from Earth, living in houses that are above the ground, living in high-rise buildings, and then now using screen technologies so that people aren't having human interactions or looking for signs or just even enjoying nature. Instead the focus is on a screen, and that's made us extremely disempowered. It's not, while we might be getting knowledge or gaining knowledge, which we usually are, when we're interacting with a screen, it's one of the most disempowering things a human being can be doing, because we are depriving ourselves of the connection to nature, which is our power source. And then we are subjected to the brainwashing, mind control, and all the just all the black magic that comes through the screens as well, because they are devices of the black magicians who are controlling humanity. So I just want to emphasize again the importance of taking time away from the screens and being inside and being indoors and going outside into nature, and just go out there and cloud gaze or watch an ant, or, you know, smell flowers, do some gardening. And like you mentioned before, there are ways of bringing nature indoors that can source us, like bring plants indoors. Rocks, crystals will connect us with nature. And also eating living foods like sprouts and kombucha, you know, freshly picked fruits and vegetables, that by eating those natural, the produce from nature, that will help our bodies assimilate and be connected to nature. We can listen to sounds, recordings of sounds from nature. Like, I remember when I lived in the city, I would play recordings of ocean waves, or at night play insect choruses. And that helps the body relax, because being an animal body, it responds to the sounds from nature. And there are so many of those available, whether it's rain falling or birds chirping, whale song, dolphin songs. There are a lot of things that we can do to be connected to nature, even if we don't go outdoors. It's you know, just if you sit on the back steps and put your bare feet on the concrete, that's grounding. And it's important, essential to receive sunlight. This whole demonization of the sun, you know, we need sun protection. Okay, you know, don't go out and fry yourself, obviously, but we need sunlight on our skin for our health. The cells use sunlight to metabolize energy. So if we don't have sunlight on our skin, so, you know, going into the cells, we can't be healthy. Sunlight also helps enables the body to manufacture vitamin D, which is not a vitamin, it's a hormone that's responsible for this whole cascade of processes in our body. So we need sunlight. So no chemical sunscreens, because they actually cause cancer. We do need sunlight on direct skin. And if you need protection from the sun, wear clothing that's protective, or a hat or whatever, and know that you can receive sunlight through your skin, through your head, through the scalp, and as well as the eyes, of course. But it's essential to receive sunlight. And then also it's the light from the moon, the stars, fires, candles, any natural sort of light, like the light that sparkles off water. If it's too much to look at the sun, then just look at light sparkling off water, and light shining through prisms. You know, when the light comes through and throws rainbows, that light too has benefits. I don't know exactly what they are and how it works. You know, this whole thing we're in is a mystery, right? But I do know that the natural light has life affirming, life optimizing codes in it.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to mention that before. Yeah.
No, I think it's really important to elaborate on the power of the sun, of the power of
Yes.
nature. I came across breatharians. Breatharians are those who do not eat food, they do not
Yeah.
drink, they actually get their energy from the sun. And I was really astounded to realize that food, we have forgotten that what we really need is energy, is life energy. And we can eat as much food or drink as much as we want, but we may not be getting the true energy, the natural life force energy that we need, which is really why we're eating in the very first place. You know, we've forgotten the reasons why we are feeding our body, and we can feed our body with natural light, with the life force in the sun.
That's another thing about receiving energy from the sun or from food. On food, it's important to have food that's as fresh as possible, organic as possible, and then living foods. Like I said, sprouting sprouts is so easy. Anyone can do that. You can just sprout mung beans, lentils, or whatever. Then you get the life force energy of that sprouting sprout into the body, and that helps to optimize our being. That's such a simple practice to do. And then I also make my own kombucha, so I have a relationship with the kombucha, so I know it's optimizing my meat. And then if you grow herbs or plants, you can communicate with the plants to provide optimal medicine just for you. And so that's another way of getting the life optimizing energy into our bodies is through food, and then through what we drink. And obviously pure water. If you can find spring water, that's optimal. I collect rainwater, but I don't know. It feels a bit sketchy now with all the geoengineering and that's going on. So another way to optimize water is to leave it out in the sun, and then it receives the photonic energy from the sun. We are light beings, so we actually create biophotons. We receive the photons from the sun, they go into our cells, and then they're released as biophotons, which is minute packets of light. So we can put the water in the sun and then bless it, and that then takes it to another level. This information is really necessary because so many people are suffering. So many people are suffering, like physically and mentally and spiritually. And the solutions are very simple. It's just that they've been forgotten or they've been ridiculed. Like sun gazing is looked on as some like hippie, just some, I don't know what it is, but not that it's one of the most powerful practices that a human being can do. So I'm really feeling more compelled now. That's why I'm speaking more on podcasts, just to remind people that there are these practices that we need to do now, especially those of us who understand what's really going on Earth now. The people who are really holding the ground, anchoring love, anchoring light. We need to be as powerful as possible. So we need to be connected to Earth and receiving sunlight and being in nature as much as possible, away from the screen technologies.
And what are the names of your books again, Isabella?
My last one was called Putting on the Armor of God, a handbook for the Great Awakening and New Earth. And the next one's called New Human of New Earth. And it should be out in a couple of months, and that'll be available through my website, which is feelingbetter.naturally.love, and it'll be on Amazon, available through Amazon.
Well, thank you so much, Isabella. I really enjoyed our conversation today.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to share what I've learned and remind people about the importance of being connected to nature, spending time in nature and being relaxed doing it, because when we're relaxed, that's when we receive the most.
So true, so true. Lovely. Thank you so much, Isabella. And I do want to thank our audience for joining us today on this episode of Daily Soul Bites show. And new episodes come out every Wednesday. And I also want to invite you to get my book, Daily Soul Bites book. This is really talking about the different perspectives of higher self, which is that spirit being that we are, and also perspectives of the physical ego self, which are more fear-based perspectives, and really coming to understand what perspectives we hold at any point in time, so we can align. We can choose the perspectives that will allow us to expand, or allow us to really come to that journey, allow us to really come to that place of stillness, of neutrality, of that present space. It's the perspectives that we hold that take us there, and then we can begin to align to make choices from that place of present space. We can begin to make choices that really benefit us and our true authentic self. So yes, I do want to encourage you to grab that. It's available on paperback and on an audiobook as well as Kindle. As I speak. And I also want to encourage you to get Isabella's books, which are also available on our website and on Amazon. And looking forward to seeing you on the very next episode of the Daily Soul Show. Bye-bye.